Hey there, my name is Liam and this is my hobby room. Together with BC Hobbies, I'd like to welcome you to episode 1 of my airbrushing course for beginners. The goal of this series is to clearly explain the tools and supplies necessary to use an airbrush, how to use it, and some other concerns like space, ventilation, and general safety. Now for the purposes of this series, I'm going to be assuming that you've never used an airbrush before. If you have, don't worry, you'll just have a little bit of a head start. This 4-episode course is for the absolute beginner, so we're not going to be exploring every single detail and technique. In this introductory episode, we're going to be covering a general overview of airbrushing, and that's going to include some tools, a very brief explanation on some paints, and safety considerations. Now in episode 2, we're going to dive deeper into paints and all the different types of paints you can get and what it's going to take to thin them and use them properly. In episode 3, we're going to cover actually painting with an airbrush and all the types of techniques you're going to have to learn. Episode 4 is going to be a very important episode if you're interested in airbrushing. However, it does rely on a lot of foundational knowledge built up in episodes 1 to 3, which is why it's episode 4. But episode 4 is going to be about cleaning and maintaining your airbrush. But let's not get ahead of ourselves just yet. To start this overview off, why don't we ask a simple question? Why airbrush? Airbrushing is the best way to get smooth and consistent lighting and painting effects on your models. With a little bit of practice, you're going to have near total control over your colors and application. Now to get some other perspectives on this, so it's not just me babbling about why I like airbrushing, which you can pretty much watch any of my videos for, I decided to ask the Liam's Hobby Room Discord server. I wanted to know why other people like airbrushing and whether or not our reasons were the same. For the most part, they're very similar, but everyone has their own little flavor to it, and they had some really great comments. Now I work at a hobby shop, this hobby shop, and I speak to a lot of different people who are nervous about airbrushing for reasons like cost, ventilation and safety, the level of skill required. Sometimes people even have airbrushes or have had airbrushes for years and they've never really used them, or they use them and they encountered a problem early on that kind of stopped them in their tracks and caused them to walk away from the hobby. Now what I hope to do in this series is cover the basics of the airbrushing process so that you feel comfortable picking up an airbrush for the first time or returning to the hobby after a long time. So let's take a look at what is required to airbrush in a tool overview. Now there are a bunch of different airbrush body types and styles out there, but for this series we're going to be focusing on the most commonly used airbrush today. That is the gravity-fed dual action airbrush. It looks like this. This is what it looks like. Now, as you learn to use this tool, you're going to be able to get a variety of different painting effects on your models. And yeah, that's very exciting, but the most important thing about using an airbrush is learning how to properly clean your airbrush after each use. Now, to start airbrushing, there's another important tool you're going to need, and that is an air compressor. This tool allows you to apply paint by, you probably guessed it, compressing air and feeding it through your airbrush. Now most hobby air compressors come with an air hose and some adapters for other popular brands of airbrushes, but not always, unfortunately. By default, most hobby airbrush gear uses BSP or British Standard pipe thread styles, but there are some hardware supplies people use for airbrushing that might come in NPT, depending on your region. It's very advisable that you just stick to hobby related tools and supplies for this to save yourself some unwanted headache. I'm not saying it can't be done, but in this series we're trying to approach it in the most practical hobby-related way. Now when you're spraying paint through your airbrush, there are some safety concerns you'll have to consider for yourself, your pets, and your loved ones. Why don't we go over all of that now in a safety overview? Now before getting into airbrushing, before you buy anything at all, your first concern needs to be that of airflow and safe ventilation. This is a very important thing to remember. You're going to need to remove paint particles and fumes so you're not breathing them in all the time. Most commonly, we do this in the hobby with a tool called a spray booth. This is typically a semi-portable particulate and fume extractor. It's kind of like a kitchen fan or bathroom extractor. It's essentially the same thing. And that means, in theory, it's really not that difficult to build your own out of the right supplies if you know what to get, or you can just buy a spray booth pre-built. I have a pre-built spray booth. You've seen it probably on this channel, and if you haven't, here it is now, doing its thing. To efficiently deal with paint particulates and fumes, the spray booth sucks it all up into a filter and a fan inside spits it out into a dryer hose, which I have just kind of going out the window. It is critically important that you have a spray booth or another way to ventilate your painting area. You'll also need a respirator and face mask depending on what type of paint you're using. Different types of paint require different personal protective equipment, and we're going to learn more about all of that stuff in episode 2. How you doing so far? I know this stuff can seem a little bit overwhelming at first. I mean, I know it was for me when you consider the different tools and supplies and technical information that you need to know before starting the hobby. And let's face it, this stuff can actually be really expensive. Now, I can't necessarily make things more affordable, but what I can do is ensure that you have a strong knowledge base so you're not buying a bunch of random stuff you don't need and wasting a ton of money. So hold on to your hats if you're wearing one, otherwise just hang on to something solid nearby, I guess, because in the next section, we're going to talk about picking the right tools. Now, to get the best results out of an airbrush, you're going to need two things. That's skill developed from lots of practice and the right tools. Let's start with the air compressor. Now, for simplicity's sake, make sure you're getting a hobby brand air compressor instead of one from a hardware store. Now, hardware store compressors may or may not be oilless, they might be pretty loud, and they'll likely require some sort of adapter to compensate for the different types of threads and hose sizes and all that stuff. Now, there are two different types of air compressors that are applicable here: air tank compressors and tankless compressors. Some air compressors use a motor to slowly compress air and fill up an air tank, and then they turn off while you're spraying to allow the machine to cool down a little bit. Now, once the air pressure in that tank lessens, the machine's going to turn back on again to fill up that tank. Air compressors without an air tank simply remain on compressing air until they're manually turned off. The advantages to using an air tank compressor are longer operational times, manual pressure regulation, and automated brakes to avoid excessive heat buildup. The difference tends to be that air tank compressors are a little pricier. Some air compressors like this are loud, while others, like the Gallery GT918 I reviewed on this channel earlier, are actually very quiet. This is the most commonly used type of air compressor in the scale modeling hobby. Recommended air tank compressors are the Gallery GT918 dual drive air compressor, the Iwata Sprint Jet, or the Paasche D500SR. However, there's also a more budget-focused option in the tankless air compressor. Now, there actually are some advantages to using a tankless air compressor. They're usually a little bit more portable, sometimes they can be a little quieter, and they typically come with a slightly reduced price tag. Now, since they don't have an air tank to fill with compressed air, a tankless air compressor's motor is going to be running the entire time and it may overheat. A lot of these tankless air compressors do come with an auto shut-off function. Once the machine gets too hot, it just turns itself off and needs to cool down. Now, some heat buildup is normal, and these tankless air compressors do compensate for that to a degree. Just be careful when you're using it and make sure to read your manual. Now, some good examples of tankless air compressors are the Neo for Iwata, the Gallery Serenair, and the Gallery Turbo X Mini, which I reviewed on this channel. And now, it's time to pick out an airbrush. Now remember, for this series we're going to be going with a dual action gravity fed airbrush, but you'll learn more about actually using the airbrush in episode 3. For now, we want to establish some foundational knowledge that you'll have and set you up with some tools that you can grow into rather than quickly grow out of. Or worse, have a low quality tool that breaks immediately and stops you in your tracks. Now, to save you the pain and frustration of potentially having to learn a very expensive lesson, stick with reputable hobby brands. I'm talking about well-established brands like Iwata, Paasche, Harder & Steinbeck, or a new solid player in the industry, Gallery. There are very many cheaply made knockoff airbrushes available online. Some of them are even packaged with an air compressor, so you might think, wow, I'm saving a whole bunch of money, just get these both in one. Though just as an aside, every reputable brand does have a starter package you can get with a compressor and an airbrush as well. While some of these no-name brands online may have an attractive price point, the critical issue here is build quality and parts replacement. Quality airbrush components are finely crafted for precision, however, they can also be delicate. If a component inside your airbrush breaks due to just regular wear and tear, or you accidentally drop it or something, you're going to need to replace it. This is true even for well-manufactured airbrushes. The difference is, with a reputable brand, you'll be able to replace those components at your local hobby shop. Now, for a lot of these no-name brands, there is no part support and it's hard to find these pieces. It really sucks having to tell someone that their airbrush is broken beyond repair and that we can't really do anything with it because we have no parts for it. Nowadays, thankfully, there are actually a lot of different affordable airbrushes on the market that are perfect for beginners and intermediate users alike, and they cost barely more than one of these knockoff brands. So you can have a really great tool that's going to last you for a very long time. And that's the goal here. A well-manufactured and well-maintained airbrush will last you your entire life. Now, some really solid airbrushes that I absolutely recommend for a beginner are the Gallery GHAD39, the Neo for Iwata, the Iwata HPCS Plus, or the Paasche TG100. Now I have a piece of advice that will help you no matter what type of airbrush or compressor or paints that you pick for yourself. And it is this: be kind to yourself. Try and be patient with yourself. You're probably going to make a mess, and you're absolutely not going to be the best painter in the world when you start out. Anyone that is serious about their hobby will tell you that they are always learning, and that is so true. We're always building up our skills. We're always improving as long as we keep pushing ourselves. Sometimes when we begin to push ourselves, we end up struggling a little bit, and sometimes things don't always go to plan. But that's okay. That is part of the process. Keep at it. Make sure you're cleaning your airbrush all the time. That is the most important part, and you will improve. Always remember to talk to your local hobby shop if you have any questions or concerns about the airbrushing process or the paints or any of that stuff. They're there to help. The thing that I want for the entire community is to get the most out of their hobbies, to be able to enjoy them to the fullest. I want people to be fulfilled by the thing they love, to explore it, to experiment with it. And with the skills that a lot of us have practiced, it's our job and our pleasure to be able to help you do that. So it's okay if things go wrong. It's okay if things are confusing. We're going to help you work through that together. By learning how to airbrush, you're about to expand your hobby 1,000-fold and open up new possibilities. And as always, I cannot wait to be along for that ride with you. Now, coming up next in episode 2, we're going to talk about the different types of paint that are available, which ones to use, which ones to avoid, and which ones might be right for you. We're also going to learn how to thin and apply them properly, get the best results, and be safe about it at the same time. Now, until then, I'll see you next time on Liam's Hobby Room.